Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, we have a truly special guest, someone with over 20 years of experience navigating the NHS, making a name for himself as both an outstanding orthopedic consultant and a fantastic mentor to many. He specializes in foot and ankle surgery and pediatric orthopedic. And beyond his surgical skills, he's known for his excellent communication, great teamwork, and of course, his brilliant sense of humor, which I'm sure you'll get a taste of today. Today, we'll be diving into his journey as an overseas doctor, how he's adapted to the NHS, the lessons he's learned along the way, and his invaluable advice for those who's following in his footsteps. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Acharya to the show. Welcome, Mr. Acharya.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you for, investing your time with us today. We're really going to be having a fun time today.
Wish we had something like this when we started, isn't it?
Amazing. Yes, of course. That's why we really want to make this happen.
Indeed.
So that everyone can benefit from it. So we're going to ask a couple of questions today, and the aim is to help overseas doctors understand your journey and how they can see themselves through you navigating the system. And of course, we will benefit from your wisdom and advice on how to navigate things and how you went through the NHS. I'm sure it's been a long journey, but successful journey where you've reached right now. But I think there will be lots of lessons. There will be lots of lessons that we can learn from, and you could share with us today, with all doctors watching us today on the show.
It'll be my pleasure.
Thank you. So looking back at your early years in the NHS, what were the biggest challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
From the beginning, I would say having a clear purpose of what I was doing in the country, both as a foreign national and a foreign doctor, was something that I had to sort of. I didn't have a clear concept what I was doing here in the first place, why I was here. It was almost like I came to the UK. I had some idea of what I wanted to do, but I didn't have a clear path in my mind. That probably to some extent led to me, losing a bit of time and direction.
Sure.
And I found that those people who came into the system with a clear purpose and a clear goal in mind obviously succeeded to achieve their goals quicker. And I think that is a clear, I was probably more playful in that way.
Okay.
We just, let's see how things build up and we take it from there. A clear purpose and a clear goal would have probably helped me achieve things quicker. I think the next thing was finding the right mentor early enough would have been invaluable from the beginning. Speaking, finding a mentor and actually communicating with them regularly enough. And for us as foreign doctors and foreign trainees, I think it's important to find a mentor who has a similar sort of starting point or had a similar starting point as to yourselves, because I would like to believe things have changed, but maybe they have not, because I'm just looking at things from a different angle now. But sometimes the advice you would get from people who are educated here and who came up through the system here comes from a totally different perspective.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so you might talk to somebody who's professor of orthopaedics, but who was trained in Oxford or Cambridge, and their path was laid out in a different way.
Sure.
So it's good to know them. It's good to have them act as your mentor, but you almost need a separate kind of mentor who came into the country and faced a situation which is totally with a different set of do's and don'ts.
Amazing.
So I would say that that would have, if I had known that from the beginning, would have been a different pathway to repeat myself. Having a clear goal in mind and a clear plan to achieve it, and finding the right mentor who probably has a similar starting point to yourself. So, if somebody came from India or Middle East, was educated there, did a bit of, surgical training there, would be the ideal mentee for me, because, they will know that I did the same. I trained in India. I did my postgraduate training there, so I had some working knowledge of orthopedic surgery by the time I got here. There were a few people like that, but probably I didn't sort of hold on to them and talk to them enough, or communicate enough, because when growing up in India, it's almost, and going through the medical system there, you almost believe that you have to show everyone that you know everything, rather than approach them for, it's almost like to be a good trainee, you almost felt obliged that you needed to show your boss that you already know everything. In some extent, over here, people can actually turn around and tell you, looks like you know everything, so what have I got left to do here for you? But it would be, it would probably, so it's not communicating enough with the people and making my own intentions clear and goals clear. But in the same breath, I would like to say, just tell people as much as they need to know.
Okay. No, thank you for sharing your thoughts on this. I think you mentioned something, I just want to point out to interrupt you, that you came here without a clear goal or a purpose. And it's interesting because I actually had the same start here. I also came intending to stay for a couple of years just to do a master's in specific ultrasound scans and then go back. But then, many years later, I'm still here. But it helps if I had a goal and target I would have prepared before coming here. And it would save me many, many years. So sometimes preparing your target and what you really want to achieve will actually help you to get faster.
Indeed.
And also you highlighted something interesting, which is finding the right mentor. And I also can relate to this. After I got onto the right path, after I decided I'm going to stay here, the mentor, I'm going to ask about your experience with mentoring, but my mentor helped me to achieve things faster. So instead of me taking longer time to understand the system, to understand how to navigate and to understand how things are working, the navigation becomes easier through a mentor. He saves time, saves money, and saves you the doubtful times where actually I'm not sure what I'm doing, or from the right path.
True.
So I'm glad you mentioned mentorship. So what was the highlight of the mentorship that you've had? Or the things which you achieved through having a mentor to help you achieve something that you were really struggling to understand or to achieve?
I would say that, there are certain things. I can't name one mentor. I learned sort of one skill from one person, another skill from another person, etc. But I think my probably fault in the initial years was not communicating my needs enough to the people around me. So if you ask bad questions, you often end up getting bad answers.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a clear sense of what you need to know from someone, then they won't be also able to properly guide you in that instance. So yeah, I mean to say you will struggle to find that one person who knows and understands you fully. But you have to find pearls of wisdom in the people you talk to, And it may not be a bad idea to actually write it down. It's something I've always wanted to do, but I've still not done, which is to maintain a journal. Probably you can have a separate professional and personal journals. You learn something on that day that you write it down, and because it may not come back to you 6 months down the line. You say, I learned something on that day. It might be just to do with some specific communication that was given to you, or something they said that this pathway would be good for you, and you were sort of too caught up in other things, and you didn't really. You knew it was a great idea, but then you don't have chance, right? And then you forget what was that good idea that person had mentioned to you. So I would say that there are people. For example, I mean to say, I came in as my first job was as a clinical research fellow, because I was a bit adamant that I don't want to do, exams that require me to won't lead to any qualification. That was probably a bad move. If I didn't have that mindset, I don't know why I got that thing. Probably I'm a bit exam shy, although I do well in exams. I decided, no, I will do exams only. So I came in as a senior doctor with the experience under my belt. But I didn't do the PLAB. I got on to as a limited registration. I was working in a professorial unit. I never did the USMLE. Because if I had done it, probably my pathway would have been different. So, maybe it's not considering it, not talking to enough people, communicating with people, understanding what people around me are doing.
Sure.
To how they are laying out their pathway, and if you approach people with humility and kindness, I think people will share with you. It's not don't always think that people will try to put you down. And if people know that your interest is genuine and your need is genuine, they will try to help you.
Thank you.
So I had this experience where I said, and I need to climb up quickly enough. And, I ended up going to Scotland, where the support for foreign doctors was not as good as it needed to be. And I, in fact, had this terrible experience of, the program director actually viciously putting me down in front of my own referee. It was terrible. I mean to say, I didn't get chosen for the 2-year training program, and when I asked him there was a chance I'll get selected ever, he said there is a chance if all the people, if something terrible happens to all the people who got selected yesterday.
This must be disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but that's, and when I mentioned this to somebody I trained with in England, they said, get out of there as quickly as you can.
How has this made you feel, by the way?
Oh, it was and what he said did not hurt me as much as the fact that my referee who was sitting across from him didn't stand up for me. But, I don't know. It's not something, I've always tried my best to protect my own trainees and never let anyone talk to my trainees the way I was talked to. But nowadays with, how people are very keen on projecting themselves appropriately and not saying the wrong thing. Of course. That person, that program director, was known to somehow always say politically incendiary things. But, it was now 25 years later thinking about, oh my God, if I said something like that, I could be dragged to court and stripped of my registration for saying things.
Don't forget that time people used to get away with lots of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
They wouldn't get away
with these days.
Yeah,
but I think I know. But it helped me also, steel my resolve, saying that I need to achieve what this guy says I cannot achieve.
Okay, excellent.
You
took it positively.
I took it excellently. I became almost obsessive.
Okay, that's a good thing.
In my pursuit of what I wanted out of the system, because by that time I knew, the only way I was going to get appropriate training is by being a trainee
Sure.
in a sort of with a national training number, and that's what helped to motivate me. And at that point, instead of sinking to sort of a lower level and losing heart, I spoke to the right people who said, get out of there.
Excellent.
Come into England. England is more sort of accepting. I hope that things have changed in the other. I then trained in Wales, and Wales was very kind to me.
Accepting it.
So, but it was the next job in England which started me off well.
Good.
And now I'm back in England working here as a consultant. Although if I had been offered a job in Wales, I would have probably taken it.
Amazing.
But yeah, I mean to say, from that was a low point, but that also gave me the
strength and the determination to go up again.
To say that whatever you say, I'm going to show you that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing these experiences. I think amongst what you've said, you've highlighted really 3 key issues and a piece of advice, which is writing the journal is very important. Many of us don't do it, and it's really important that you write personal and professional journal that will help you extract the learning points you have every single day at work or even at life to ensure that you are really building your experience on. The second thing you also mentioned is asking for help and not volunteer to show that you've got knowledge in everything. Because if you show knowledge in everything, probably you don't know much, and people will actually can see this in you.
I think very correct there. So always mention, be humble in your approach with people, and always show that there's even from people who are not in your specialty, who are not even probably in the same discipline as you will learn something.
Absolutely.
There is always, even now, as I sit there, I was talking to one of the nurses earlier, and she said a couple of things related to medicine that I said, oh God, I didn't know that. And then you realize that people around you are quite knowledgeable, and they will sort of tell you things that you did not know.
Sure.
And that'll add to your
knowledge,
own growth your own growth as a clinician and as a person.
Right. So, thank you for sharing this. That's really, really powerful. You earlier mentioned to me how using a mentor or an advice of someone who was experienced in the system helped you to ask for the right salary for you. And this is something we see it right now with people or doctors coming from overseas. And what they do is they accept the job for whatever they've been offered. And usually, or sometimes, they don't offer them the right scale. So could you share this experience with us so that, doctors can understand that they can negotiate their salary and they can ask for recognizing their experience, even if they didn't have a UK experience in the past?
This advice came to me from a good friend who was training in Sheffield at that time. And I was doing my clinical research fellow. I just kind of mentioned it was my first job in the UK. And bless him, because he told me that, and it was, I think, his generosity of spirit that he told me of his own unfortunate experience.
Wow.
Whereas he had come like me from a premier institute in India.
Wow.
With his postgraduate degree, and they almost refused to recognize it. And that just, and probably he had worked after that. So it's about 3 to 4 years of experience wasn't recognized, or they said, at the most, we'll give you 1 year's experience. So his starting scale was a much lower level than where it should have been. So, and then you're always playing catch up.
Sure.
And it's and in some ways it's demeaning. It's almost refusing to accept that the experience you got outside of the UK could have helped you grow as much as a doctor as experience within the UK. And I think that's really wrong. So he knew it was wrong, but he didn't have maybe he didn't have the right mentor to back him up.
Of course, absolutely.
if in this day and age, one of my juniors were to come to me saying that they are not recognizing them, I'd probably definitely go up to human resources and ask them, can you explain to me?
Totally.
You may be right, but just explain why. Why do you think it is not? And sometimes you will find people, when you give them a chance to explain and you give them a chance to sort of, give you a justify what they are doing, they might actually find that what that justification, as they are trying to justify, it's not justifiable. And, but they might have just not thought about it as hard. And, I think there's a certain honesty in the system where people will not always, unless you make them look bad.
Sure.
They will be willing to accept that, I'm sorry, I probably made a mistake.
So there should be the right approach as well to this.
But you can achieve that through humility and kindness, saying that, I'm sorry, you probably have a very good reason, but, can you please explain to me why? And then if you have a good mentor who's in that hospital at that point, they'll be able to sort of help you, saying that. And I think because of that bit of advice, when I first started in my first job, I showed them all the qualifications, the certificates. Yes, please don't leave your parent country without all the paperwork.
Absolutely.
Even at that point, I have to say ashamedly that I almost destroyed my IELTS certificate after my first job until I realized how important. So I've got a crumpled copy still with when I realized that
in the frame now.
I know, it's but it's you have all kinds of I laminated all the paperwork I have. I don't even, some of the stuff I'm not even sure I'll ever need, but it's still there. Absolutely. Because it's this kind of experience that you had somewhere, sometimes it's very difficult to get that paperwork in your hands again if you lose out on it. So I would have and because I had my degree certificate and my experience certificates, everything I could show, it's like, in the 3 years before I came here, it's not like I wasn't doing anything. This is what I did, and here are the paperwork just to prove it. And these are the people, if you want to contact them.
That's really, really powerful, I have to say. And what's also very powerful, just highlighted to, people watching and listening to us on the podcast, is it's okay to negotiate for your salary. It's not always advisable that you agree straight away, because you have the right. And some people are really worried about negotiating, thinking they may lose the job or they may be refused or not giving the job at the end. I would say, you've heard the story now. You could negotiate actually your salary and make sure they really recognize and give you what you're worth, because if you're not taking what you're worth, you're losing money. And not having a mentor, your friend who didn't have a mentor, someone to advise him, he lost maybe £10,000 and now he's catching up. While you, having a good mentor, which was him, by the way, doing his mistake, you are off better by £7,000 to £9,000.
As I don't say, he's also a foot and ankle surgeon, and I make sure I buy him a beer every time I meet him. He's probably doing it. Oh, you blow a beer, but 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 I do. I always acknowledge him, saying that Mr. Ray, that was I've had some excellent few nuggets of wisdom
from him.
From various people. I can count about 4 or 5 great instances of advice. His was definitely one of them.
So what would you say for the people who say on the mentorship, because I think now you have highlighted something important, good to share with the audience. What do you say for people who say, oh, actually, I could do the mistakes myself and I could learn on my own. Why do I need someone to mentor me? I just, like everyone's successful, I could be like them. Why do I need a mentor?
I think the difficulty you would face is sometimes you will make a mistake that the system will not forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to be in that situation. I have worked in 4 different countries. I started off in India. I did a fellowship in France. So I was there for a year. Before I came to the UK, I worked in UK.
Speak French?
Yes, I do, sir.
Oh, okay.
Now I do. So, I worked in the UK. I did work in Northern Ireland, but then I worked in the other 3 countries. I worked in Scotland, Wales, and England.
Okay.
And I also did a stint in Canada. And I think, we all doctors are probably some of the most hardworking, may not be the most intelligent, unfortunately, but definitely the hardest working.
We are in
definitely the hardworking ones, because to come through medicine, you have to be very hardworking. But there is the intelligence in hard working is being intelligent enough to know that you have to work hard. Okay? But there is a saying in the UK saying that, you are probably 3 or 4 bad decisions away from being on the street as a homeless person.
Wow.
Because, and it should, you have to minimize the number of life-changing mistakes that you make as you go through, as you negotiate life. Because, and sometimes it might be totally a culturally driven mistake that you have made. What is okay was probably okay in your country.
That's actually
is not okay here.
Yeah.
I mean to say, I have to ashamedly admit saying that I talked to a nurse in my first SHO job after putting an IV cannula in, and turned around to her and said, now you better protect that with your life and don't ask me again to do it again. So, and I mean to say, now thinking back, I meant to say a nurse in India in that day and age would have been probably happy enough to put off with that comment of mine. But it didn't go down well in the UK, and I now know very well why. But thankfully, they didn't put me in trouble. But discipline, But I was told by again some of the.
No, let me just interrupt. You'd be surprised to know that some people are getting into trouble till this day and age,
saying things
from saying something like this. So I just want to point it out because you've said it.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing your vulnerability. But I think it's what makes you stronger, sharing your, but what you did in the past and what you're doing right now. So, sir, please go on. I just want to...
absolutely. So, you might you might say or do something which is absolutely culturally appropriate where you started your career, your life. But which suddenly in the context of where you are now, seems totally wrong.
That's acceptable.
So, it's I would say that that is something you have to really work hard on identifying. It's not always possible to stop yourself from doing, because our experiences make us, our upbringing makes us, and there are
cultural education,
of course, and so and when you come, try not to restrict yourself to a certain group of people who look like you, who talk like you. You are in a new country. Make the most of that experience. Hang out with the local people as much as you can, because then you will really understand the nuances. Sure. I used to have that, and I mean, probably I'm just more social than a lot of the junior doctors at my time, but I would make it a point to attend some of the, when the ward staff would go out, and they'd be surprised to see me saying that, usually we don't see any foreign trainee doctors wanting to hang out. But I said, I would say, I don't see a reason. And in some ways that, 1 week to the next week, just by going and hanging out with them for a couple of hours, it is suddenly, you find your life has become a lot easier in your workplace, because now they are thinking of you as a person, not just a doctor who was doing the job.
Yeah, that's true.
So and these are sort of bits of, and this is something when some of my consultant doctors who saw that I had done that, they said, that was a really good move on your part. I don't know if somebody told you to do it. I said, no, I just, it's so boring to be by yourself in your room.
And again, sorry to interrupt you again, but I think this is also very golden nuggets people should understand. It's important that when you come to the UK, you intermix with other cultures, other backgrounds, other people who come from different countries. Because most people we find, they come and cocoon into the same community, talk to the same people they're familiar with. Because we get familiar with people we know. We understand it. But you didn't make all this journey from where you came from, all over the world, to come to the UK and then mix with the same people. Otherwise, what's the worth of the journey?
Yeah, you might as well
stay there, right? So you have to come, explore the culture, explore the language, listen to different, way of speaking.
You don't have to lose your identity in the process.
Never.
You don't have to say that, I have been a teetotaler either for health reasons or religious reasons, and I'm going to start drinking. You don't need to.
No, of course.
The system is accepting, the society is accepting.
Absolutely.
Enough. But, you don't have to shut yourself off from certain people around you, because that will make you look aloof and inaccessible. And in some ways, they talk about familiarity breeds contempt, but I think that's was probably a saying from a different age and time.
Yes, yeah.
Familiarity to some extent, I think, breeds confidence.
Yes, exactly.
People will trust you more if they see you more and they know you more.
Absolutely. One of the things about trust as well, when they talk to you more, they get to know you more, and then they will trust you. It's like when you talk to patients.
Yeah.
They say the number of doctors sued are mainly sued because of two things: lack of confidentiality, lack of empathy, and lack of confidence. But people who share empathy are less likely to get sued. So when you are familiar on how to talk to local people or people come from different backgrounds, you become empathetic. You know how to be empathetic with different cultures. And this makes you less likely to get sued, because we are here working and we can get sued at any time from any complaint. So we need to make every possible step not to get sued. One of them is to be familiar with the culture, understand the unspoken language, and also understand how to communicate with the patient and show empathy. Because it's something that some overseas doctors are not really good at. Like can be sometimes rigid, sometimes be focused, sometimes be like a robotic in the way.
Unfortunately, I mean to say, I come from India, you are from Egypt. Doctors are put on a pedestal, and over time they start believing that they deserve that pedestal. Then you find it difficult to get off the pedestal.
Yeah.
Because in your mind you become so set and rigid in your ways.
It becomes you.
Yeah, you can't. And after a while you forget, how to get off the pedestal, and or you just think of yourself as high and mighty. And the system is not like that. You have to, and you will conquer more hearts by being kind and humble and saying that, yes, I know some stuff, but I don't know everything there is to know.
Yeah, that's true.
And just by talking to people, I might be good at foot and ankle surgery, but I've got no idea how these lights work.
Sure. Sure.
Just watching you and Alex setting up this whole, I realize that there's so much I don't know about how to set up a televised meeting.
Yeah.
That is the kind of humility if you show even to the people you're working with, be it your junior doctor, be it your senior doctor, be it
or nurse or anyone,
or even the ward clerk. They will know things about the society around you and the hospital in particular. That will make you feel like, oh God, I know nothing.
Yeah.
But it's just keep yourself open to these experiences, and think of as a nice adventure you are on, and an experience that nobody else in probably your family is ever going to have.
Absolutely.
And you're doing it for them, and you'll take it back to.
Yes, absolutely. And I quite like this commentary that you need to experience things in the own way and ask people around you. I can remember, I can relate. I was once invited to go to a funeral in the UK, and I actually never been to a funeral before, so I didn't know what to expect and what to do. And then I had to ask one of the nurses, she's English and from this culture, what should we do? And then she explained to me, otherwise, if I went to the funeral, I would have really looked very odd, because it's different way of showing love, different way of showing how they celebrate the person who, sadly passed. And it's completely different how we do it back home in country. I'm sure it's different also.
Absolutely.
But it was really kind of eye-opener. Wow, there's actually a better way of celebrating, our beloved ones when they leave us, rather than just showing the sorrow and the sadness. There's actually a better way of celebrating this. So it was really eye-opener. And yeah, I can't agree more.
In that instance, you had the humility to meet someone and talk to them, and and in that instant you made them your mentor.
Yes,
for that funeral. But it's having that openness of spirit.
Absolutely.
Very, very important.
Right. So thank you so much for sharing your experience from when you've come, how you've made things, and how things went up and down for you, and things you got wrong and things you got right. But if you want to capture a moment where you said, now I understand the NHS and now I figured how it works. Can you picture something like an event, something happened, or something you saw, or something you've been through?
I can't think of one sort of defining moment where I thought that I really understand the system. But over time, I have figured out that it is a fair system.
Okay.
Okay.
If you know how to navigate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you know where
how decisions are made.
How decisions are made, what your strengths are, where your weaknesses lie, make sure your strengths don't leave you, and make sure you work on your weaknesses.
Sure.
Okay, so there's no point, you work on your weaknesses and slowly your strengths go down.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but, there is a, if you work hard enough, and take the right decisions at the right time, and even learn to identify what is not working for you. For example, I went to Scotland and I realized that wasn't working for me. And, I learned to cut my losses and come out of it.
Amazing.
So, that was an important part. But the system was fair in that, it wasn't like, they said, we are going to use you and we are going to throw you out.
No, sure.
When I showed aptitude, when I showed determination, there were people always willing to sort of support me. And even if things weren't seeming to be right, there were people willing to defend me, to say that no, this what he did was he meant right, and sometimes these things go wrong.
Sure.
And that such is life, such is medicine.
Amazing.
So but I would say that working hard is not alien to any medical trainee or any medical student. But yeah, don't. I would suggest to whoever's watching your podcast and wants to learn, you've got to work hard. You've got to show that you want to learn. You've got to make the most of the experiences presented to you. And for that extra bit of learning, make yourself available.
Sure. To others.
To things that are happening. For example, sometimes I get a bit, you really need a life beyond medicine, but, time is finite. And there's, medicine has exploded, you and I know, in the last 20 years. And, to know so much of stuff which is now thought to be essential, sometimes even a lifetime looks like it wouldn't be enough. Yeah. So, make the most and, always balance. Could I be, right now, do I need to watch this Netflix serial back to back for 12 hours? Or can I spend these 2 hours? Choices. Life is all about choices.
Yeah.
Make sure you make the right choices, and and there's a good reason for that. What you're doing, and this system is accepting. There is enough scope for people to grow in this system, to reach the top. But you have to be willing to work hard to achieve it. And it's not just a matter of working hard, it's also a matter of working smart.
Smart, absolutely.
So it's understanding. And if you have the right mentor and the right person backing you, and to some extent it will be for you to find that person. The person may not come necessarily looking for you because
everyone is busy.
Yeah, everyone is busy.
You have to look for it.
You have to, and I, just the other day I was telling my own junior doctor about working smart. I said, you have known for almost at least a week now that you're going to come to assist me in theatre. Did you even try once to contact me to say, what is it we are going to do? Why? So that is about working smart.
Okay, they may be shy.
No
they may be shy as well. Don't forget. So you shouldn't be shy. If you are going to have something that you haven't experienced before.
But you approach it with total humility. So I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you.
Yeah.
But I can see that I'm going to be working with you. Just so that I'm not barking up the wrong tree. Can you just tell me what we are going to do?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you might spend 7 days reading about the surgeries that
very contagious.
But I might be doing something totally different to what you have read about. So you have worked hard, but you haven't worked smart.
Smart, absolutely. Message is work smart, don't only work hard. Now, thank you for sharing all these powerful messages. I'm sure this will be very useful for people who are listening to us and watching us on this podcast. But if you want to say that one thing or thing that need to change in the NHS to better support overseas doctors, what would you say that NHS should do?
To better support foreign doctors. This may not go down very well, but I think...
Okay, so make it go down well. So I will start again the other.
So with what the NHS can do for, I think there is a lot of working to make the trainee doctors or foreign trainees to come to the UK and learn about the system. But I don't think the system tries to learn enough about the doctors coming in.
Okay,
that's it's all very good to and I think that you can probably it's society on the whole possibly needs to understand where these doctors have come from, what's their background story, etc. There is not enough. You don't see enough of. It's probably the press doesn't show enough of them. There should always probably be every now and every 6 months probably there needs to be a story about a trainee doctor's journey from a foreign country to this country, because so that the general population understand where they are from, what they have gone through, etc. So all these doctors
and understanding of their difficulties and the struggles they're going through as well.
I think that. So I think the NHS as a whole, I think it's a much better place than where we started. But I would say that it's what the NHS has to do is probably the organization. It's kind of difficult to make the organization learn. It's so vast. But I think it probably is not a bad idea for NHS managerial staff to have an induction to understand better foreign doctors.
Absolutely.
Especially those who have trained outside of the UK, because then they will understand that some of the things they say or do
is actually a very good idea.
Is okay in that person's culture. It may not be okay in this culture. We know these things, you can't expect somebody who was, a boss of everything he surveys, where he came from a week ago to suddenly, act like a meek mouse.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Because he has come here, because it'll take him some time to
settle, to adapt, to change, and that. That's really powerful. Actually, this is a very good idea. And as we expect overseas doctors to have induction and mentoring to understand the system, I think it's not a bad idea at all that the system, where they're getting all these overseas doctors now, also have an induction or sort of understanding that when they say or do this, it's actually meant in good intention, not actually in a bad intention. True. That's really, really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing this. No, thank you for sharing your experience so far. I think it's been enlightening to see how amazing your journey was in the UK and how it went through ups and downs and how you've learned from mistakes and how you used mentors and how you changed hospitals and took the right decisions, which is something that we always encourage people to do. Take the right decisions when you see there's enough evidence for you to move hospital, move job, or accept a job, or even leave the whole hospital for a different one that could give you a better option and a better advice and a better opportunity. Now, amongst this journey, have you had a moment where you thought, well, what have I got myself into? And said, wow, I wish I didn't come here.
There was a time, I would have to go back to where my experience in Scotland kind of sort of, gave me that impression. But I think at that point, probably I was a bit too brash to be, probably I wasn't being humble enough. Maybe I just got bad advice where people told me that you need to show that you're a go-getter and you just did it the completely wrong way, that was the point when I did think to myself, and I felt really lost in that, saying that, I had put all my eggs in that basket and,
now
that basket had thrown me out. Or it wasn't giving me, a chance to sort of, to prove myself and my skills, and that at that point, it was a probably low point of my life, because, and there was all this conflicting advice about, you should never take a non-trainee post, even if it is to the next level and all that. And at that point, that used to be very strong, that kind of saying, keep doing trainee SHO jobs, but don't take up a non-trainee registrar post. And, but I just felt that I was stagnating as an SHO and I'd already done a bit of next level work. And I said, you know what?
You have to move on.
I am going to take up this non-trainee post because it looks like the job description is what
I'm doing.
And it turned out to be the right thing. I went to Hull, worked there for about 8-9 months. I worked with a very senior consultant and he, just from my talking about various things, he could see that I had the knowledge and I just needed direction. And it is one of those people, everyone talked to me about, oh, Mr. Kane, he's a hard man to work with. And I found him to be absolutely fair.
Nice.
He was not a man, he was of many words, but he was quite sort of, if you worked hard, even when he's not looking.
And smart. Yeah.
And then, and it was all about, a patient was unhappy that the legs were not the same length at the end of a hip replacement. I spoke to the patient and I wrote down, and I didn't even bring it up to him, but he got word through probably nurses or leading through the note.
Yeah.
And he was so happy with me, saying that, Ashok, I'm so happy that you took the time to talk to the patient, you explain what goes on. I have written your notes about, so, and it was just, making sure you do the right thing, and continue doing the right thing, whether you, at that point, getting the recognition or not. And somewhere along the line, the organization will recognize your worth.
And it's a good message, actually. If you ever felt along your journey in the UK or in the NHS that, oh my God, where have I got myself into? There's always a way to turn this around and make it positive and extract some learning points. and move forward and find a way to move forward and progress in your career, because this is why you came here and it's what you need to achieve. You've made a big journey, leaving your home country, your memories, your background.
Very hard.
It's very powerful. So you need to make all out of it. So there'll be moments where you go down, but you need to pick yourself up again. And we've all been through this. I've been through this and you've been through this, and we just have to go through it. So if I ask you, if you're going to give a title, if your journey in the NHS was a movie, what title would you give it?
Always look at the bright side of life.
Okay. It's a very long movie title, but I will take it. And what, if you weren't playing in that movie?
I will change that. Okay.
You will change that. Okay, we'll give you another go.
Well, yeah. I'll probably say the title I would give is, the only person you can change is yourself. But when you change yourself,
that's very good.
People will change around you.
That's amazing. That's actually very, very powerful. I like this. The only person you could change is yourself. Full stop. I think this is a very good, strong movie. So we're going from this title. If you were acting in this movie and you've chosen another specialty different than the orthopedic, what would you choose?
I think, music has a way of sort of making you feel better and lighter. So, I would have probably, I may not have been a great musician, but I would have probably kept trying to be a good musician.
That's good.
But yeah, you need to, I think it's very important. I think the two messages I would say, probably a lot of trainee doctors, by the time they get here from their own countries, they may have a family already, or at least a spouse or a partner. So, make sure, your professional life is going to take a lot of your time, but make sure you make time
for your life,
the people in your life.
Absolutely.
Because that will help you sort of calm you down. There are things beyond just your work that will keep you.
That's only your life. Not only work.
It'll keep you engaged, and it's always helpful to find one hobby or one sport or something. Because, for example, I enjoy badminton, and when I'm playing badminton, I'm not thinking about work. I'm just thinking about
how to win this person.
How to win this rally, and where's that shuttle going? So, but
she had to you
find, and you will meet people who may not be doctors, but who are much better players than you, and that shows you humility.
Of course. Well, let's plan our next match, and I'll show you how good I am in badminton. Right, so if you chose to be a musician, but let's go back, and if you chose to be another type of doctor, what other specialty would you choose? Any other doctor type in the hospital? Any other specialty as a doctor?
I did, within medicine, probably, I would have probably. Obstetrics was a good field. Obstetrics, the birthing process, every birth I assisted, every child I brought into the world. In India, I used to get to do it as
junior doctor.
Even as a medical student. It was just totally amazing how that happened time and time again, and with the healthy mother and healthy child, and the importance of that whole process was quite something. Yeah.
Amazing.
But they said that you also have to do gynecology, which was not like, not that.
What do you mean? One choice? Going to orthopedic surgery, where you could choose what you want to do, and you specialize in foot and ankle surgery, which is amazing.
Indeed.
Amazing. Mr. Acharya, I really want to thank you deeply for your valuable insight and wisdom and your journey, and sharing your experiences and highs and lows in your journey as well. And I'm sure all the viewers and all the listeners will benefit from this. So thank you again for joining us today. And I'm definitely going to have you back, because I actually benefited from what you've said. And I'm going to change some of my behavior in the NHS to become better doctor in the NHS. So thank you again for joining us today.
Pleasure is all mine, Mo. I think you're doing a great service. Wish we had something like this, but if we can't, probably the advantage for the viewers is that at least you have an online mentor.
Yes,
who is telling them the right things. You can learn from distance. It's a form of distance learning.
Excellent. Mr. Acharya, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for following us on this episode, and I'm sure you've all had lots of fun today and really got valuable insight and nuggets from Mr. Acharya on his journey. And I really want to thank him for him being very transparent and open about his journey and really showed his vulnerability. And it's okay to show your vulnerability if you are trying to become a better person, because this actually will help you to become stronger, wiser, and determined to become a successful doctor within the NHS and the UK. So thank you everyone for listening to us and tuning to us today, and wait for the next episode, which is going to be also fun and useful to every one of you along your journey in the UK. And thank you.